Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along to Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now on today's show we're going to be discussing online brand reputation management. Wow, what a mouthful that is. What's that all about? I can hear you asking that right now. Online brand reputation management is getting more and more important. Many of the big brands are doing it on an ongoing basis, a daily, hourly basis, in fact. And how important is it to make certain that your brand and its reputation is maintained? Joining me in the studio today is Relton Heron. He's from Relton Associates, and we're going to be talking all about online brand reputation management. Relton, lovely to have you back on the program. The last time you were on, you were talking about SEO.
Yes.
And I learnt so much. You and your team looked at our website and told us so much. Before we get into online brand reputation, off the sites that are out there, the websites that are out there, of people who are putting sites up, they're engineering them, how many of them do you think aren't performing at all?
Probably, it's levels of performance, but probably about 67% aren't performing like they should be.
The thing that struck me about the discussion that we had was that speed was so important, and
yes.
You can have the most beautiful website with the most beautiful pictures and graphics on it, and in fact, because it is performing so slowly, that the site will just not be will not be ranked, and that frightened the daylights out of me.
Yeah, it's Google now rates SEO or your search engine position via mobile first. So if it's not fast, if it's not fast on mobile, it's going to fall foul of Google's ranking algorithm. And not only is it not fast on mobile, but it tests it in 3G, 4G, and all the different networks as well.
Would you say the biggest issue that people have got when they're looking at it, don't worry, we're not going to be talking about this all the way through the program, but is it down to the fact that people look at these beautiful graphics that they create, they use Photoshop or another package to put together beautiful graphics, beautiful text, and then they just upload it verbatim, full size, 4 meg, huge files. Is that the problem that most people have, is that they're just not thinking it through?
There's probably three key areas. One is the content management system you use. So
a lot of people are using WordPress, aren't they?
WordPress is a fantastic content management. CNN use it, I think I said that last time. You use it, I use it, and WordPress developers, there's plenty out there, so it's a really good platform. But if you're on Wix, for example, you're not going to get the same traction. You'll get the speed, but you won't. There's other things that aren't going to quite work in your favour. So content management systems are one of them. The other one is who's building your website. There's a lot of tech people out there that are really tech, but they don't understand the SEO, which is, some say it's tech, some say it's marketing. But and then there's the third thing is people design a beautiful website, and it looks amazing, but they don't get the tech bit. And you need to make sure you're set up correctly for Google. And it's not complicated. It's just being aware of what you need to do and what not to do.
Well, I was amazed by the advice that your team gave us. Haven't completed all of it yet because I'm a bit slow like that, been a bit busy, but there's no excuse for that because the sooner it's done, the sooner we'll get better performance. But already I went from having dreadful low speeds on our website to now getting reasonable web speeds, but we could still be a lot better, and I know we can. It's just a few things that are slowing us down at the moment.
Well, it's wonderful to hear that you're really using the report as you should.
Well, it was really interesting. If you want to find out about the report, incidentally, do go along to Relton Associates, and you'll see that they do a health check effectively for your website. This isn't meant to be a plug. I found the health check so valuable, and it has changed the way that we approach. I mean, there are a number of tools out there that will help you with SEO, but the health check was the one that went, there were alarm bells ringing, this isn't loading as quickly as it should be. And I think this whole thing about mobile mobile ready. And I suppose a year and a half ago, Google brought out the new thing where you had to be mobile compatible. But the speed thing is it? It's not API. What's the? There is an app, isn't there, or a function within the website for mobile. I can't remember. It'll come to me in a while. Anyway, more of that on another show. Let's talk about online brand reputation. What do we mean by that?
It's a simple question, but that's not quite the simple answer, because it's so multifaceted now about where your brand can appear. So today we're going to cover off the basic Google stuff, which is great for small businesses. We're going to talk about Amazon and marketplaces, whether you want your brand to appear on there or whether you're trading on there, how you can make that look better. There's social media, who's saying what about your brand on social media and blogs and online in general. And we'll try and pull all that together in a really simple, easy, sort of to comprehend way. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's
for small businesses, they're going to be coming into this a little bit cold, aren't they? They think they put their brochure site up, so they've got a website that is no more than a brochure online. It's not interactive. It's not collecting names. It probably isn't doing very much for them anyway. They may do the odd blog, one or two a year. I mean, it's the mistakes that we all make, isn't it? We feel that once we put something up there, we can forget about it. Where do we start with it?
We start with Google. So if you type in your business name, how does it look? How do the results look when they come up?
Well, we can do that. You can do that on your machine.
Yeah, I've got this ready.
So let's have a look at your screen and just talk us through what we can see on your screen at the moment.
Okay, so I've just typed in Relton Associates there, so it comes up. You've got the websites, the first thing you see, and then it's broken down into 6 sections as well, which is About Us, Blog, Contact, Privacy, Associates, and Relton Here. Now that's not always achievable. If you have a Wix website, you're unlikely to get that, or you're not going to get that. But on WordPress, you'll get that. And
would you steer away from the likes of those Wix type products? Are they okay for starter sites? Because there are people out there that are selling Wix sites, nearly as white label sites.
Yeah, Wix has got its place in the market. It's really simple and easy to use. First of all, you start. So if you're going to have a website, first question you ask yourself is, do I need one? There's plenty of landscapers out there or cafes that just have a Facebook page or an Instagram page, and that's good enough, actually. Sometimes I'm not always saying you should have a website. The next step up is perhaps a Wix website. It's really easy. It's really simple to maintain. But for search engines, the only traffic you're going to get there is likely to be direct traffic or traffic that you've paid to get there.
Right.
And then the next step up might be Shopify for a store or WordPress, but you're going to need to pay for somebody to produce you with a WordPress website, whereas Wix you can generally do yourself.
Yeah.
And there's kind of, when I started my own business, I started with a WordPress website that I built, and it didn't look great, but that was where I was in my business journey. And for my wife, I set up a Facebook page, and she was fully booked within 3 months. So it's where you are in your journey as to what your business requires at that time. So I've got a WordPress website now. Well, I've always had a WordPress website. It's just evolved over time.
Well, we use WordPress, and we also use a company, Elegant Themes, who produce a theme called Divi. And we use that, and really it's a fantastic package, fantastic flexibility, easy for us to use, and easy for us to brand as well.
Yeah.
However, if we go back to the last problem, the SEO, you've just got to be aware of what you're doing with the SEO. So we've got this content management system, we've got our website, we're using WordPress.
Yes.
So
okay.
There we are. We've now created our brochure site.
Yes.
Where to now?
So the next step is Google Business. I mean, you can see this here on my screen on the right-hand side. So
okay, let's look at your screen again.
You've got a few images there of the business. You've got a nice, good-looking building.
Is that really your building? Is it?
Yeah, that's where I work. It's not my building, but that's where my office is. And what you don't want is a garage or
a house, a private house. I think
or a private house you might not like. So there's that, and then there's the image that the big image there is. It looks digital. It looks like we do. It says how much does a website cost, so you know that you're in the right place. You've got a location, and the first bit that everybody can do. So Google Business is really easy to set up.
Now, the thing about Google Business I have found is I set it up, and sometimes I appear. I've just gone in there and did a search on us, and can you have a look at my screen for a second, and you'll see what we're looking at. So here's my screen. I've just Business Connections Live TV, the UK's leading online business channel. We've got our live program, so it's quite obvious that we've got all the bits and pieces that we were talking about when it comes to a good WordPress site.
Yeah.
But even though I filled all the content in, sometimes this doesn't come up. Am I doing something, do you think, fundamentally wrong? And is that going to be an issue for people where sometimes their site doesn't come up, or is it just the luck of the draw?
It's not luck of the draw. It should be coming up, and it could be to do with how you've structured. See, Google can't see it.
Right.
So it's not Google not serving up because they don't like you or anything suspicious. It's just it can't see it, or it's not sure if it's serving up the right information for the right business.
Righto. Just putting in one of our...
So what you will need to do is make sure that you are giving it to Google on a plate so it absolutely knows that that's the right site to serve up for those search terms.
Well, it's very interesting because we're Business Connections Live is part of a group of companies, Retail Therapy Media and Retail Therapy Television. If you have a look at my screen once again, you'll see that it is actually coming up. The Retail Therapy is coming up. There were some pictures of the studio, our location, where we are, also the outside of our building, and also some bits of video from us as well, for that matter. So Retail Therapy is doing okay, but Business Connections Live sometimes doesn't work.
So Google likes you, it's just not sure which content to serve up.
All right. Will you take us through how we go into Google and what we should be doing and what we should be looking at?
Not in detail today,
right?
Because we're more bigger picture and there's a lot to cover. The more granular stuff, we might be covering off some of the stuff we've already covered in our last chat, actually. But going back, if we could go back to my screen, one of the important things here, so you'll see the Google reviews here.
Yes.
I've got 9 Google reviews. It's really easy for a customer to leave a Google review. So you'll have clients who you know that you have done really good work for. Ask them to leave a Google review. Reviews, when I'm looking at buying a car or any big purchase, reviews is a big part of what I'm looking at. Even my accounting software, I was looking at the reviews. So I use something called QuickBooks. It's got 8 out of 10 in its reviews. 0, the competitors are 4 out of 10. And then the other types of things I'm looking for is such as, can I phone you? Can I iChat you? Can I email you?
And that is all on that review. Just look at the screen one more time, please, and you'll see that all that is just down the side there, isn't it? It shows your address, your opening hours, your telephone number. When it comes to photos, is it good to put like your premises and maybe an annotated photograph that goes up there that explains what your business is all about as well?
It depends on your target audience, and it will always come back to this question: who is your target audience? Who do you want to come and see you? Who wants your business? So I've got there a website image because I help build websites, and people resonate with that straight away. So depending on your business, if you're a cleaning company or a landscaping company, you're going to have an image that relates to that, and that image is really important.
So the first step then is make certain that you're registered with Google Business and that people know what you're going to be doing and that you're there.
Yes, and what will happen is you're registered with Google Business, they'll send you a card with a code in the post. You'll go back to your Google Business, you'll type in that code, and it's that simple. It takes about 20-30 minutes of your time.
Right, more to come from Relton Heron on this edition of Business Connections Live. Relton is from Relton Associates, who will be talking about online brand reputation management. More to come on this edition of Business Connections Live. Well, hello there. It's lovely to have your company. We're live here on a Monday, a little bit late today, but always good to have you with us. And I hope you're enjoying today's program. If it is a problem, if it is an issue within your business about your brand reputation, then today's program really is something that's going to be very valuable to you. If you haven't gone into Google Business yet and set that up, then you should truly be doing that right now. I know as a business owner myself, there is a lot to be done. There is a lot of stuff that you have to do, and you have to keep on top of it. And while you're working in your business, you're working on your business, and sometimes you just run out of time and you have to prioritize if you're going out maybe looking for new clients. But these things are essential. And the comment that you made about the fact that your wife's business fully booked 3 months, but with a Facebook page, we'll come back to that in just a few moments' time. Okie dokie then, let's go back a week then, shall we? Or a couple of weeks, because we had the bank holiday. On the last edition of Business Connections Live, we had Frank Finesse. He was on our last program. Frank, of course, is a keynote speaker, a terrific show from Frank. And we were looking at all things related around promotion and new media. Now, if you're not familiar, this kind of really fits in well with what we're talking about today. What do we mean by new media? Well, Frank will explain, and also the key takeaways from that particular program. So let's go back a couple of weeks and listen to Frank Finesse on Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about new media marketing. What does that mean? You've probably heard the expression in the press. Maybe you've read something about it and you think to yourself, listen, I'm sure I should be doing it, but I'm not quite certain what it is. And if I do know what it is, I'm not quite certain how I should be going about doing it. New media marketing. We've got an expert in the studio with us today who's going to explain all and tell you what you should be doing. Joining me in the studio today is Frank Furness, international motivational speaker, trainer, and author.
I think the biggest mistake people are making right now is I've got to get onto every social media platform. I've got to be on Facebook, I've got to be on LinkedIn, I've got to be... No, you've got to be where your clients hang out. Biggest mistake is people don't do any research. They actually don't ask their customers, well, where do you hang out? What social media platforms are you on? What do you want from us? What kind of content? How often do you want the content? When's the best time to post it? They will tell you what they want, and then you form your social media strategy. So let's take LinkedIn. What I've done on LinkedIn is I want to either sell myself as a speaker at a big conference, or I want to sell products to certain sectors. As I've said, there's 4 or 5 sectors. So what I've done is I've got a guy who works for me offshore, and first thing he does, every day he does 3 sort of generic motivational posts that go out on every social media platform, and he posts them at different times. But the second thing he does, he connects with 20 people on LinkedIn every day in each of the sectors. Well, yes, so here's the thing. I mean, you get all of these companies that'll charge you an absolute fortune. I get these SEO experts. We can get you onto the first page, and I Google SEO experts and they aren't there. How are they going to get me on the first page if they can't get themselves there, you know? So I've looked at this from a sales sort of point of view, because I'm thinking, what is Google actually looking for? How do you get onto the first page? Nobody knows except Google. But the one thing I'm finding is they're looking for social presence. If somebody types in certain keywords, do you come up? Does your business come up? Most of the websites out there are absolutely awful. I mean, the old strategy, I'll get my brother's uncle's cousin to do it for me. I'll give him $100. And I still see those websites. Nowadays, people, first impressions are everything. And so many CEOs I speak to say, if I go into a website and it looks terrible, I'm out of there. I don't want to do business with that company. What we're looking for is information to help us make a decision to do something. So as a business, how much information are you actually putting out there to let people find you? And most businesses aren't doing blogs, they're not doing any postings. How are they ever going to be found and be seen as experts? Any business out there have got to have a digital strategy, and they now can get onto that even playing platform. I'm starting to do some work with one business, and at the moment I can't say too much about them, but they spend $100,000 a month on Facebook advertising. So here's an idea. If you're a business, think about 8 questions that people ask you all the time. Whatever kind of business, we've got a TV studio. What does it cost me to hire a studio? How long does it take? How long is the post-production? Every one of those is a question. You can turn those into an article. Now you've got an article. The first place the article goes is to Blogger. Google owns Blogger. you promote it with Google+. Next place it goes is onto your website, same article. Same article now goes onto LinkedIn, you promote it with Facebook, you promote it with all the other social media channels. You now record it as a podcast, goes out to all the podcast channels. Okay, so there's a lot of things you've got to do. First thing is get that strategy in place. Get a great website, find the right kind of people to do the keyword analysis, find out what your audience want, ask them what they want, then get out there and create the social media. Create once, publish everywhere. And then the other big thing we didn't even mention was please respond to what everyone is doing. So if somebody's going to be putting comments on your YouTube, don't just leave it there, go back. Someone's going into your LinkedIn, they're putting some stuff in there, please go back again. And one last thing, Steve, I've just written an ebook, 80-page ebook on the best times to post on social media, because get up in the morning, first thing we do is look at the phone. So is that the best time to post? If anyone wants it, they can just contact me, frank@frankfurness.com, and they can get a free download, an extra bonus for the program. So this is Frank Furness. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been absolutely brilliant.
A fantastic show there as well, Frank Furness. If you want to get more information about Frank, you want to watch the entire program, then please be our guest. Go along to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Now, you're watching the program today. You may be thinking to yourself, boy, this is a fantastic opportunity. Wouldn't mind sitting there where Rolton is at the moment. I've been interviewed about my business, my organization. Then you can do that. If you like more details about that, why don't you drop us an email? This will be exciting. To studio@businessconnectionslive.com. That's studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Or if you wish, there we go. There's the email address. Congratulations, well done. You can always pick the phone up and give us a call as well on 01 784 256 777. That's 01 784 256 777. You can follow our stream of consciousness on Twitter at BCL Business TV. Thank you very much indeed. You can go to our Facebook page and watch the program and leave comments there. But most importantly, if you want, you can go to our main website at businessconnectionslive.com, find out more about the program and find out how you could be appearing on a future edition of Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Relton Heron. He's from Relton Associates, and we're talking about online brand reputation management. We were just talking about Google Business, and we just needed to wrap that up a little bit more, particularly around the reviews.
Yeah, so Google, so you've got the Google reviews on my screen there. Sorry, if we can just get my screen up again, that would be great. You've got the Google reviews there. It will also pull in Facebook reviews, and it will pull in reviews.co.uk reviews, or any kind of reviews, Trustpilot reviews that are out there. That will be pulled in as well. Having no reviews is not ideal. If you've got one or two and they're good reviews, but somebody comes and leaves a bad one, then it can.
So where are the reviews on here? Just by the way.
So if you can click here,
right,
and you can scroll down, and they'll start bringing them in here as well.
Fantastic.
And you can view them all here. These are the Google reviews.
The Google reviews that are coming in.
Yeah.
Look at that, 5 out of 5.
Well, I'll be doing a pretty shoddy job. If
you're getting people, would you mind leaving a review? Give me a 2.
But it's not, you don't have to chase everybody. It's just when you have that conversation, you know if you've given good service. And it's just remembering to mention it. You're not chasing it. You're not trying to, obviously I've had a lot more clients than 9 clients.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the other thing I'll say is that, this is obviously how I want my business to be presented with Google Business. There are other businesses that don't want to be contacted, and there are ways that you can manage that as well, but still be found for the right, but still have a presence in the Google Business section of the search results.
So we're looking at it, and we've got this profile now. We've got this business profile that is sitting there. We can see the breakdown of what's on your website as well, your blog and things like that. Our Google Business entry is sitting to the right of that. Anything else we need to consider when it comes to Google?
Just one quick one, and that's consistency of data, consistency of information. So if you've changed your address and Yelp.com has got an old address, a bit like you have a different website address for your videos, you need to make sure that all the directories and everybody else has the correct information. and that way Google will know that you're a bona fide business.
Now that's the other thing as well, isn't it? A lot of people think that the only directory out there is Google. And of course there are a whole load of others that they need to be on, don't they?
It helps your SEO with the linking. It's not spammy, it's not dodgy backlinks either. A lot of these directories have got high domain authorities. They've got very, very low to no spam score, like 0 or 1%. And it's a really positive thing to be on them, so yeah.
So look out for directories. Is there anywhere they can go to get a list of the directories they should be on?
Well, a really good question, because there's some places, you know, if you're a restaurant, you want to be on TripAdvisor, you could consider that a directory. If there's a business to business directory out there, you're a restaurant, you might not want to be on that. So choosing the correct directory for you is important. And also Google, you know, if you're a small business and you're in a restaurant guide, not that that's going to happen, but it's the wrong kind of traffic and the wrong link, so Google won't like it. So I've got a long list of hundreds of directories that when somebody comes to me for their SEO, we'll list them on the directories a couple a week maybe, so it looks natural to Google, there's no rush, and we're just making sure we're choosing the right directories. And different directories will also ask you for different amount of content. Some will want images, some will just want a snippet of information, others want a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs of information. So when you come to us, we'll ask you for all that information, and we'll just drop in the bits that are specifically relevant to what you want to be found for online.
So don't be thinking then, when it comes to online brand reputation, the only place to go to is Google. There are other places out there.
Oh, absolutely. And outside of the UK, so Google is about 90% of the UK search responses, but outside, you know, if you're in America, it's down to about 40-50%.
All right, so that's Google then. Have we done Google?
Yeah, we've done that piece.
Oh,
yeah,
that's very good. So Google then done. Right, now where do we go to next? What do we look at now?
So the other thing to look at is your overall brand reputation, and what's being said about your brand online, in social media, and just around the web in general. And that could be broken down into more general, which I've just mentioned. It can also go down into Amazon and eBay, and marketplaces, so where you might be selling product, or where your brand, you own the brand but other people are selling your product. Mm-hmm. And then there's the monitoring tools that allow you to see what's being said.
Now, the monitoring tools, are they paid for tools, or are they things that are available as a resource online?
They're largely paid for, but there are some free tools out there, and some very good free tools out there, like Twitter Deck, and just your Facebook analytics tells you a lot of stuff as well.
So things like Hootsuite, I would imagine as well, Twitter Deck, Hootsuite, things like that will allow you to see what has been said about you online.
Yep, and the best, another really good one is Google News. It's not Google News, it's called something slightly different, but it's Google News. You can sign up for news stories, and you type in what you want Google to send you emails about. So, for example, I monitor Relton Associates. Google will send me an email if anything's mentioned about Relton
So what
Associates.
kind of damage will happen if you are getting adverse comments being made about your organisation, or people are maybe using your name and spamming it, whatever? What kind of damage will be done to your search results when that is happening?
Well, let's start with just what you've got immediate control of, or what you should have immediate control of. So I think Donald Trump had one of his members of staff leave in his campaign, puts a couple of things up on Twitter before they left and changed the password. So you need to make sure that you have control over your social media, but also your website as well, and your analytics and those things. So if you have a WordPress website, for example, you should have complete admin management control over that WordPress website, and your agency or other people that go in and make the changes would just have admin rights. And it's the same with your URL. Make sure you own the URL and that you control that URL.
Now, I have heard stories about people who have gone to agencies.
Yeah.
The agency own the URL.
Yeah.
They have complete password control. And when they leave the agency will then go, our domain, our website, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Or they'll charge them a big fee to buy it out.
Yeah.
You've seen that.
It's horrendous behaviour. I would like to think that most people wouldn't do that. They'd transfer the domain to you. Whether you leave or not, they should just do that. That's ethical. because otherwise you've got to go through a big process to get that domain back, and it's quite painful.
So make certain you own your domain, make certain you know your own passwords, make certain you have control.
Yes, and when a developer builds you a website, ideally you'd have it in WordPress so you can access it all the time. Some might say, oh, I've coded it in HTML5 or done it in a different method and it's on my server with a lot of other websites. One of the first things you need to make sure is that you have control.
So it's transportatable.
Yes.
Is that a real word?
Yeah.
Transportable. That's the
And
word I was looking. Thank you.
It's not an uncomfortable conversation to have. You might feel it's an uncomfortable conversation, but as a business manager, it's your due diligence, and use that phrase, due diligence. I need to just make sure I've got control of all my assets. I'm sure you understand. They should provide them without any
Just out of interest, from a marketing point of view,
Yeah.
what should you be paying per month for shall we say, the ongoing maintenance of a site that's been created? Is there a typical figure, or should I just forget that question?
It's a really difficult one.
Is it as long as how long is a bit of string?
Well, if you're maintaining a brochure website, it really, it can be anything from £20 to £100 tops, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got a store, you've got fast speeds on your hosting environments, it can be a couple of thousand. And it also depends that if your site goes down at the weekend, what backups are there to get the site back in place, and what kind of resilience package you have, and what you require. I imagine many small businesses or medium-sized businesses don't need that kind of a package, so it really should be around.
But if you're an online
£200.
retailer, your site goes down, you're losing money.
You're losing
You need
money.
some form of contingency.
Yeah, you do. And depending on where your business is in its lifespan, is what that looks like. You don't need £2,000 worth of hosting fees each month if you're only doing 500 sales a month. It doesn't. On a return on investment point of view, it just doesn't work.
Okay. All right, where to next?
Okay, so that's having control of all your assets. What's being said about your brand online. This is just so you know what's going on, so you can respond to things, and rather than waiting for it all to build up. It's very rare that you're going to have an absolute humdinger of an event that's going to go really bad for you in the PR world. Except Eurostar did have that in 2009.
Well, I had an instance actually with my father. We had one of these disabled lifts in his building, and I had all sorts of problems getting through initially to the manufacturer, and I did actually tweet about the fact they'd also supplied some TV programs as well, and I did make the comparison that perhaps if this TV program was asking for a particular product that they were manufacturing, they might get a better response than little old me. That afternoon, I had a phone call from the managing director of that organisation. To give him credit where credit was due, they resolved the situation. It seemed to have been a misunderstanding, and the following day I had an engineer there. I had to pay for it still, which I was quite happy about, but I got the response, and all I'd done was go on Twitter and highlight their Twitter account.
Sometimes that's all you need to do, and smart businesses are well aware that that's where your first point of contact, particularly the younger generation, are going to go to make a complaint. And it sounds like he really did respond in the way he should have done. I mean, that's what you're after. 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, it is just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, and he was very good, and I actually went back on to Twitter again. I know it never really seems to all tie up, and said how good they were. But we've got another colleague who is just down the corridor from us here, who's going through all sorts of problems concerning a dishwasher, and which caught fire. And, and what's happening is there's all sorts of issues going on there, and we've suggested you should really actually go on to Twitter, because it is about brand reputation.
Yes, and they'll almost get an immediate response. But obviously small companies are going to find it harder to monitor that. So it's not Google News, it's Google Alerts. So
Google Alerts, well remembered.
Yeah, it's Google Alerts, and it's free, and it's really easy to use. Okay.
All right, so be aware of what's been said about you online. Where to next?
So let's go to, and this is for more sort of medium, larger businesses. So you can monitor social media in quite some detail. Even with the Facebook updates, you can see what's being said. And this also steps into influence, online influencers. So by getting online influencers to say positive things about your brand, it's going to have a positive effect on your business too.
listen, we'll talk more about that in just a few moments' time. You find it on the website, and we'll just drift away for a moment while Relton gets the page up that we're looking for there. Relton Heron is my guest today from Relton Associates, and we're talking about online brand reputation management. While we're talking about press, PR and things like that, and getting your brand out there in front of a whole host of other people, how do you use the media for free? There's an idea. You write those press releases. What happens to them? How do you raise your brand awareness? Rachel Taplin joined me on the program a little while back. She's a businesswoman and entrepreneur. She was on the show, nearly 2 years ago, in fact, the 6th of June, 2016. She explained how to use the media to market and to promote your business. We all know the value of free PR. Not only do you have the possibility to get exposed to a bigger audience, but people believe the media more than they believe your traditional marketing campaigns. So it's something that's going to be very important for you to get under your belt. So how do you make that PR release, that press release, really work for you? How do you get free broadcast PR? Or any PR for that matter. Here's Rachel Taplin with the key takeaways from that edition of Business Connections Live.
Well, as you know, I'm Rachel Taplin, and I'm a business owner first and foremost, and I've got a real passion for PR because I needed PR for my business at the time that it was really challenged. So PR is the forgotten marketing tool, and there's so many different marketing strategies we can be using: social media, online advertising, offline advertising, radio, TV. But PR is one of the most cost-effective ways to get new customers, and it builds and positions you as the expert. So why is it important? Because it's practically free, it's fun to do, but it opens and creates opportunities for you. So just give it a go. Start with the baby steps. Start with your top 5 media contacts. Just think about where would you like to be, and don't be scared, because the editor of the Times is just as lovely as the editor of your local newspaper. But don't just go to the news desk. They get inundated. The news desk will get inundated news at your local local TV station or radio station. Find out the actual producer. So take some time. If you've only got 5 media outlets you're going to target, whether it's maybe 1 radio, 1 TV, it might be 1 national women's magazine, it might be 1 trade magazine. Buy that media, listen to that radio station, watch that TV channel, and get to know the presenters and look at the trailers at the end. Who are the producers? And connect with them via Twitter. So start with your top 5, connect with them, then connect with them via Twitter, and then be brave and make contact with them, because you'll be astonished with the results that you could get. As I said, from when I've done it, I've generated so much cash to my business, but created opportunities. As a business owner, I'm, just quite simple. I've got 4 O-levels and 2 A-levels to my name, but I got asked, because I was positioned as the expert, to organise an equality and human rights summit for mumpreneurs, so I got round this table in London with all these wonderful business leaders, and that was because I'd done PR. So it really does open doors for you. So give it a go. Don't worry about your approach. Just remember how, why, what, when, where, and have a striking headline. But the most important thing is to take action. Don't be scared of it, just give it a chance. So you're probably doing your social media, you're probably doing your newsletters to your database that you normally send out as an email, or you send it out as a blog. Take that one step further and just approach the media and give it a go, because you'll be addicted. You will absolutely love it.
Fantastic program. Rachel Taplin joining me there on Business Connections Live. She was on Business Connections Live 133, and that went out on the 6th of June 2016. And I think everything that Rachel said on that particular program is still relevant today. You should be getting out there, you should be talking to the press, and there are ways of maybe making yourself the perceived expert in your industry field. Coming on a program like this will give you some of the content, the assets that you need to go out there and to project that image of yourself, to raise your business profile. But if you don't get recognized for them, if they don't see who you are from maybe a press release or that constant drip of information, then you are missing out. A bit of a trick in my opinion. So once again, do watch the entire program. Some good advice from Rachel Taplin on Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Relton Heron. He's from Relton Associates, and we're today talking about online brand reputation management. So we've gone through Google Business. We looked at that. We've looked at Google Alerts. We've looked at what people are saying about us online. Where to next, then?
So now we're going to take it just a step further, and we're going to look at who's saying what and who the influencers are who are talking about these things. They might not be talking about your brand at all, but you might be going out there to find influencers. There's social media monitoring tools that can aid you with that. So on my screen, I've got just a couple of snippets and shots from some tools that are out there. So this tool, all these little circles are different conversations that are having about the search term NATO.
Really?
And when within the platform, it'll also give you a sentiment. So is it a positive, a negative, or a neutral type of tone that they're having about your brand, or about NATO in this case? So you can see down the bottom left there is a little bit of red. It's more red.
And what does red denote then?
That's a negative sentiment. So
Right.
they're having it. So it's not a positive. It's they're probably not being very pleasant about NATO. The blue is positive, and the amber is sort of indifferent. And this is real life. This is a snapshot from about 2 years ago. Now we talk about sentiment. It's sentiment is whether they're talking about this type of language that they're using. So if they're using foul language, then it's going to be negative. If they're talking about crying or being upset, then it's going to be negative. The positive stuff is obviously going to be more positive language. But you also, if you were monitoring, for example, the John Lewis advert at Christmas, and they often make you cry, but it's not a negative thing, you need to just bear that in mind.
So that could show as being negative, even though it's been emotionally engaging.
Yes. But
Right.
that's, it's still good information, and having that information is priceless. So just going down, well, actually, let's just touch on this one. So Ed Miliband approached Russell Brand for an interview. The reason he did it, Russell Brand's never been interested in politics, and Ed Miliband, why would he go to somebody like Russell Brand? It's because Russell Brand had millions and millions of engaged social media followers. He's an influencer. That's the reason that he got that interview. Russell Brand Russell Brand was fantastic. He didn't compromise any of his morals or where he stood on it, but he gave the interview. And it's people like Russell Brand that if he suddenly got behind your brand, he could have an amazing effect on it. So finding these influences is important. And just here we have on the screen again. So Diana Kruger, she's Russian. She has 4,500 followers, not a massive amount, but her influencer score is 7 out of 10. And these platforms can give you what these influencer scores are.
So do you think it's important then for regardless of the size of your brand, regardless of the size of your business, to go out there? I mean, we're talking here about bloggers, aren't we, and vloggers, where you're going out. Do you find those industry specific bloggers that are out there, and then you create a relationship with them, and by doing that, having that relationship, that increases your brand awareness?
Yes, it does. Yeah, and there's specific bloggers that will be specific to your target audience. So I don't know if you remember, a little while ago there was a lot of bloggers promoting a website that did your homework for you.
No.
It got a lot of negative press.
They made me stay behind, actually. I was in detention for 3 weeks. No, I don't. Yeah, so...
well, those influencers would have been paid a commission to send the traffic to that website. So these are people who are saying, go out with your friends, don't do your homework, $10, you can get it done here. That was an influencer campaign that got that website basically selling.
So could that be part of your marketing spend, that what you're doing is you're buying the endorsement, which seems a bit naughty, really?
If you're transparent with it, I don't think it is naughty. I mean, I think it's quite obvious that someone's endorsing something. But it's also PR. You've just had a lady talking about PR, and it's getting that message out there, and there's multiple channels to get it out there. PR and online influence are just another 2 channels to get it out there with.
Another tool, and in some cases you have to pay for it.
Yes, yeah, you do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's important. Then that's influencers. Where to now?
Okay. So I'd just like to touch on marketplaces. So Amazon, eBay, those types of places.
So is this relevant for everybody, or is it only relevant for people who are, shall we say, doing retail-based sites, interactive sites?
It's relevant for two types of people. It's relevant for people who have a brand. Okay, so I have a brand. My brand is called Avacare. It's not on Amazon, and it probably never will be, because I'll make sure it doesn't happen. And that's because, or at least not until it's matured as a brand. And that's because as soon as you go on Amazon, there's a price war to the bottom to who can sell it the cheapest. And at the beginning of a life cycle of a brand, that's really important, because your brand's maturity could mature really, really quickly in instances like that. So you need to make sure that you have control over your brand and where it is. So we won't want our brand at our stage of its life cycle to be on Amazon. Now there'll be other brands that are already out there, and you know, it's the resellers in the retail stores that operate on Amazon as well. So that's the other audience. So you've got your brand, and then you've got the people who sell on Amazon. Now those people will upload all the content and images and product descriptions for the brand that they're trying to sell. And it might be completely wrong. It often is. So as a brand, you need to manage that and make sure that what's being portrayed out on the web, including marketplaces like Amazon, is the information that you want and the images that you want, and is in line and in keeping with your brand image.
So these are people who are effectively your resellers,
Yes,
for making maybe inaccurate claims, using wrong imagery, things like that.
Yeah, or just poor quality imagery.
What control do you have over that? Do you have an absolute right, or is it a case of when somebody is remarketing or reselling something that they've bought, that they can do nearly whatever they want?
Well, theory and practice are two very different things when it comes to Amazon. If you write to Amazon and say, I want you to take my brand down immediately, they legally have to comply. And the same with eBay. And they're very hot on it because they understand the repercussions if they don't do it. But actually trying to control your content on there is harder. It's much harder. And also, people may be leaving in the product reviews a review about the service that they've had from the reseller and not about the product. Or the product reviews might not be very positive. And those are all things that you want to be aware of, even if you're not going to chuck a load of resource at it to get it fixed. You should be aware of it. You won't find Louis Vuitton original bags on Amazon. There's a very good reason for that, which I'm sure you're aware of. But there'll be other products that are. And it is really important. Now, so people will leave reviews on Amazon. There's two things you can do it for. One is the service you receive from the reseller, and the other one is about the product itself. So as a reseller, you might have customer feedback of 88% or below. It's really poor in Amazon terms. There are things that are really easy to do about that. So if it's about the product and not about the service that you've given them, you can report that to Amazon straight away, and within 24 hours they'll take that negative feedback down. So I quite literally over a week have taken somebody's feedback from 88% to 98%, because most of the negative feedback that they got was actually nothing to do with the service they'd received. It was to do with the product, and the product didn't work for them. So that's from a reseller's point of view. From a brand point of view, it's the other way. People might be leaving a negative feedback because of the service they've received has been really poor, but actually the product is really good. And that's all influenced. You can change that, and in some instances is quite swift to do that. So where you also want to decide from the offset, if possible, where you want your brand to appear online. If you don't want it on Amazon, then there's things you can do to monitor that.
And this will same apply to the likes of eBay as well, then, I take it?
Yeah, eBay as well. If there was any intellectual property infringement, if they said, I don't want my brand on there, eBay, probably even quicker. We'll take it down even quicker.
Amazon, I mean, it's a fantastic platform, Amazon, but it was freedom by Amazon, they call it, don't they? Where if you have a brand or a product, then you can make a I mean, I know somebody that run a very successful on Amazon, and it was interesting watching the way they developed that brand, but they were resellers along with some unique products for their own business.
Well, I help brands build on Amazon, and often as a ghost brand. So let's say my brand was Relton Associates. I would trade on Amazon as cheapaschips.com instead, because I wouldn't want to dilute the Relton Associates brand by trading on Amazon, which is perceived as cheaper.
Yep.
So how you present yourself on marketplaces is that's where you start. You know, how are you going to call yourself and everything? Because I can find out who's selling what easy enough. And we help automate that process, because all the pricing, the inventory, the postage is all automated, or you can automate it as well. So we help with that. But we also have clients come to us saying, look, I'm really not happy with how my brand is portrayed on Amazon. What can I do about it? And we'll pull together a number of options. It's not, Amazon's got 25 million active people buying there in the UK. It's not a channel to be ignored. But don't let Amazon lead you. You take control and you use Amazon for the benefits of your business, and not to, you know, and not to their benefit. It's somebody else's business that you're plowing all your money and effort into. If you've got products that sell really well on your website, don't put them on Amazon, keep them on your website. And there's a strategy around what you would have on Amazon and what you wouldn't.
This is another program, actually, isn't it? The whole world of Amazon. So,
yeah.
So let's move on then
giant.
from where we are at the moment. So we've talked about influencers. What's next?
So we've covered off SEO in the other programs, so I don't want to touch on it too much here. But SEO is important.
Well, let's talk about SEO in just a moment then, just for a few moments, and then we can, because we're in the last quarter then, so we've got to get a lot still to get through. You're watching Business Connections Live. Our guest on today's show is Relton Heron from Relton Associates. We're talking about online brand reputation management. It's great to have your company as always. If you are thinking to yourself, yes, I'd like to be on the program, well, why don't you get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live? You can be a business expert guest. What you've got to do is go onto this particular page, fill in your names, we'll get in touch with you, and we'll send you some of the details about what you get on our media pack and what you get when you come on the program to promote and market your business. As Rachel was saying earlier on, it's important to use all the tools that are available to you out there. And of course, if you are thinking about raising a profile, if you are a speaker who is out there at the moment, if you're a business consultant who wants to raise his profile, if you're looking for something that is going to be the ideal business card, that video business card that you can drop off, then get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, and you'll be amazed at what we can do for you to help you grow your business using programs just like this. You're watching Business Connections Live. We're talking about online brand reputation management today. My guest in the studio is Relton Heron from Relton Associates. So then, we were going to talk just for 30 seconds or so, maybe longer, about SEO. Explain a little bit more about that.
So I tend to talk in case studies or examples because it's proven to work. And I did some work for the OSCE, the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So they monitor the Minsk Agreement in between Ukraine and Russia. And what we found, they asked me to do their SEO strategy. And what we found is their SEO, they had loads of amazing content, updates on what's happening on the border, but it just wasn't being found online. So by SEO in the content and making sure that content was findable, they had some amazing results.
Can I ask you a question? If you've created content and you've already published it, is it acceptable to go back to that content and then re-SEO it? And because maybe Google or the search engines have looked at it previously, how do you make them come back and look at it again?
So yes, absolutely. Because what Google sees is it being updated. And
so is it worth going back to any content that you've created and update it, because then you get a second bite of the apple?
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Google released an algorithm many moons ago. I think it was the Panda update. There's so many updates, it becomes a bit of a fuzz. Where the NHS website had dates on each of its articles that it had written. And when they released this algorithm, this new algorithm update, the NHS web pages just fell off the face of Google, because it was this date that was important. So keeping them updated is actually very important, and keeping your website updated. So this is why SEOs and agencies will encourage you to have a blog, because it shows that your website is current and up to date. And also, if you've got social media traffic going back to your site, again, that is telling Google that it's being talked about. It's in the news. It's
Does
now.
Google work on? I call it the vanity of numbers. Is Google, because for many businesses, particularly for business that we call it in broadcast narrowcasting, but very, very niche markets. So you may not have a huge number, but the people that are in that niche are the ones that are going to interact with you. So it may not be vast numbers, but it may be high value niche targeted numbers that you're getting. Whereas Google seems to work on the whole principle of 1,000 people went to that website. It may, they went there, and that's good. But those 1,000 people may not be ideal for that website. They seem to be working on the more the better. It's quality over quantity, isn't it?
Google wants it to be quality over quantity, and Google will try everything to give that quality over quantity. So that's why keywords and images, naming your images and videos is all really important. I could go on Fiverr.com and buy probably 1,000 Facebook likes and pay $5 for it. Don't do it. That's not me advising you to do it.
Don't do it.
Google's savvy to these things. There's even influencer monitoring tools out there that will gauge whether the people who are following certain influencers or so-called influencers on Instagram, where they're from, how engaged are they actually liking the content on a regular basis, and it will crawl all of that stuff.
Now, we had somebody on the other week talking about lazy likes. We don't really want lazy likes. We want proactive comments, don't we?
Yes, you want engagement.
Yeah.
So
I've got a friend that always lazy likes everything I do. Write a comment, Tony.
It's so when you're monitoring Facebook, yes, you monitor your number of likes because that's your total reach. That's the potential, but it's really the engagement that tells you whether you're actually engaging and your followers are engaging with you. So completely going off on tangent again.
But so we're talking about the SEO area.
Yeah. So what happened was, so the OSCE had I can't remember the figures. It's a 43% uplift in impressions in Russia and a 34% uplift in impressions in Ukraine.
Very impressive.
But more importantly than that was who was picking up the news, and it was other news agencies and other bloggers, and they were repurposing that content. So it amplified it even further, and that was the icing on the cake. They had some magnificent responses from that piece of work. And we had to work quite closely because some of the stuff they couldn't do because the OSCE is quite a political governmental organisation. There's some stuff that they couldn't do, but they got some really good results from it. And that's why SEO is important as well, because social media and SEO go hand in hand when it comes to influencing the online digital space. You wouldn't really have one without the other.
Okay, so SEO, social media. Where to next? Because we're rapidly approaching the end. So what's the next area that we need to be looking at and going to?
We've touched, and I say we've touched on it. We've not really gone into any detail, except perhaps the first bit we talk about Google Business, because I feel that's quite relevant to people viewing this. But we've only touched the surface. I could talk to you about social media monitoring on its own for a whole show. So we've touched on all the various different points. I think the one thing I've not mentioned is those directories, making sure that your content is consistent. So many banks or pharmacies open and close or are bought by somebody else, and then the online information piece is just left. And then people are phoning up. Even the phone numbers changed. I phoned up my local pub to book a table. The phone numbers changed. I can't get through to them. I'm getting more and more frustrated. I'm about to go and leave a review, and I remind myself, because I'm in this space, don't do that. When you next go up there, ask them about it. And lo and behold, the numbers changed. And it can be very damaging if you're not up to date in those simple scenarios, because people will start leaving you negative feedback, and actually you've not done anything wrong. So it's about knowing what you've got out there and just going and check how other people view your business online. You might find some humdingers, but virtually all of it's really simple.
If you
so
do
correct.
find something that, final question, but if you do find something that you're not particularly happy with, or you feel isn't right, or maybe it's malicious content that's been published, what can you do about it? How can you protect yourself against that?
Through the realms of search engine optimization, you can influence what appears in the results.
Because in the old days, if something bad was written about you, what you would do is you would generate a lot of positive stuff, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And bury the bad stuff.
Yes, and you can still do that to an extent. The other one is you can respond to most reviews on TripAdvisor, restaurant review websites, or on Google reviews as well. You can respond to them, and I have seen some, and very rarely, but I see some instances where everybody's slating everybody else off in the immediate environment, and suddenly it's clearly a pattern of one guy's done it and everyone's followed suit, which is just a shame.
But the trouble with reviews is that you tend to only get really bad ones or really good ones. You don't get the Joe Public ones, do you? The one in the middle.
No, you do actually.
I'll
disagree with you on
then.
that. Yeah, I'll disagree with that. I mean, people are more inclined to, and I think from a percentage-wise, you're probably correct. Actually, more people are more likely, if they're angry, to leave a negative review. If they've had a really good service, to leave a positive one. There are some people who just like reviewing. It's just, or they've been sent an email to ask them to review. Is the other one, which again is, you need to be careful with that one.
Just be very careful. Listen, it's been fascinating discussion about online brand reputation management. I hope you found it interesting today. We always ask our guests at the end, because the time has beaten us, to look straight down camera number 4. Say who you are, where you're from, and also the key takeaways from today's program. It's been a fascinating insight into what we need to consider. I know you've got a bit of paper that's waiting there, your notes. So this is going to be worth watching then. So when it comes to online brand reputation, who you are, where you're from, the airwaves are all yours.
Oh, the pressure, Steve. My name's Relton from Relton Associates. We do digital marketing and branding, and they obviously bridge together with online brand reputation management. We're more of a consultancy than we are an agency. We just have a lot of people asking us to do it for them. Hopefully the takeaways you've taken today are just your online Google presence can be quite simply rectified. Please make sure you own your website, access to your website, your domain, to all your social media channels. Just make sure you have done the due diligence and you have control over those assets. And we've discussed Amazon, we've discussed social media, we've discussed monitoring social media, and we've discussed how you can influence the people on those channels as well to say positive things about you. But there's loads of really good blogs on my website. Please go and have a look. Hopefully you'll really enjoy some of the reading.
Fantastic. And just remind us, the website address is
reltonassociates.co.uk.
reltonassociates.co.uk. A fantastic insight, a fantastic programme. Hope you've enjoyed it today. Can you find your website there very quickly while I'm rattling away here? A terrific show here, online brand reputation management. And that wraps up today's program. Just before we go back and have a look at Relton's website, let me just tell you who's coming up on future programs. Safina Valenti, founder of Logistics Compare, is going to be Serafina Valenti, founder of Logistics Compare, is going to be on the program. David Martin from Ether Solutions is going to be on the show. Really looking forward to Penny Haslam coming on the program as well, award-winning inspirational speaker. You may recognise Penny when you see her. She's been on the TV quite a lot as well. Warren Knight, professional speaker on his upcoming book, More Digital Marketing. If you haven't seen Warren Knight's book, I do suggest that you go and have a look for that on eBay or on Amazon, because it's a good read, to be honest with you. So some of the speakers coming up. If you'd like to be on the show, don't forget, go to the website. You too can be one of our business show expert guests. Quick look at that screen, my screen. I thank you. There it is. Not that one. My screen here, that one, that's what I'm after. Find that form on our website, fill it in. Who knows, you could be on the programme in the next few months. We're quite busy at the moment. We are filling up. So if you're interested in being on the show, get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. Finally then, it's a quick look then at Relton's website. If you want to find out more about Relton, there's the website. We believe in creating and delivering success, digital strategy and implementation. Are you Google fit for business? Relton was on the program recently and we were talking about that. Anything they should be looking out for on the website, Relton?
Go to the blog. There's loads of free material in there. For example, there's what a website should cost and what you should get for your money, and it's just a simple PDF.
Fantastic
really
advice.
nice piece of work.
And that wraps up today's program. Thank you very much indeed for your company, and we look forward to doing it all again next week until we do it all again. Listen, take care of yourself, and don't forget to check out all the other. There's something like 260 base programs, over 300 shows in total. So why not go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Till then, next week, bye for now. Bye bye.